Hey, this is Math Minutes Pro with Dr. Harrison. Today, we're going to talk about how to solve for a variable when given a linear equation. Okay, we're going to be dealing with linear equations. You know you have a linear equation when the highest exponent of a variable is 1. All right? So in this case, this is a very important skill to have and know. Sometimes you may need to solve for a variable when you're giving a formula. You deal with formulas a lot in science or in math. For example, a common formula or equation in math, if you need to find the area of a triangle, remember the formula is area equals base times height divided by 2. If you need to solve for the area, or if you need to solve for height or base, you can manipulate that equation. And that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be manipulating equations to solve for a variable using our understanding of inverse operations, addition and subtraction properties of equality, multiplication and division properties of equality. So I'll make that explicit as we're doing it. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's start with a problem where we have, I think you'll recognize this. This is problem A. We have C equals 2 times pi, you got it, times R. So what is that? That is the formula for finding the circumference of a circle. And in this case, they want us to solve for, they want us to solve for R, okay, in this particular problem. All right, so we have C equals 2 times pi times R. We need to solve for R, where pi, pi 3.14, and then the numbers goes on. And then R represents the radius of a circle. C represents the circumference of a circle. They want us to solve for R. Okay, and then, so let's go ahead and do that. First thing we want to do is I'm going to copy this formula again. So I'm going to write C equals 2 times pi times R. Now think about it. In order to get R by itself, I need to get rid of the 2 and the pi. Now it says 2 times pi times R. All right, if I want to get R by itself, what's the opposite of multiplying 2 times pi times R? You're right. You divide 2 times pi times R. That's the opposite of multiplying it by R. So we're going to divide this by 2 times pi. Whatever you do to one side of the equation, you do to the other. 2 times pi. And then we see something we can cross out. Isn't that great? Right. 2 divided by 2, that's 1. Pi divided by pi is 1, so we cross that out. And then we go back to the left. We have C over 2 times pi is equal to what? R. We have successfully isolated the variable R. Now, a lot of times you'll see that variable on the left side. I'll just rewrite it. I'll put or. We can write it as R equals C over 2 times pi. All right, so what did we do? Recount. Solving for R, we brought this formula down. C equals 2 times pi times R. We said, what's the opposite of multiplying 2 times pi times R? Well, you divide, right? What's the opposite of multiplying this by R? You divide this 2 times pi by R. And that's what we did. Whatever you do to one side of the equation, you do to the other. So we brought down C over 2 times pi. We brought down the equal sign and you cross out what you have here. 2 divided by 2 is 1. Pi divided by pi is 1. So what's left is R. And then we just rewrote the problem. Now, let's take a look at another problem. This one, it looks very simple, but it has some degree of some complex thinking. So don't underestimate it, okay? So here this is problem B, and we have A over B equals C. Looks simple. All right. In this case, they want us to solve for B. So we're going to solve for B. Okay. All right, now we got to think it through, okay? We need to get B all by itself, and it's in the denominator, okay? Not denominator, denominator, not the terminator, it's the denominator, okay? So B is in the denominator. What I'm thinking is, I want to think this through. If I multiply both sides of this equation by B, B crosses out here, and I get B over here. Then I have C times B. Then I can divide both sides by C and get B by itself. And this is how you got to think about it. You got to know what you're going to do before you even do it, or else you just start doing stuff and it doesn't make sense. So when you get a problem like this, right, where you have to solve for the variable in the denominator, this is what you do. So I'm going to copy the problem again. A over B equals C. Well, I need a little more space, so let me move that a little bit further to the right. A over B equals C. Okay. And like I said, I'm going to multiply both sides of the equation by B. So I'm going to multiply this side by B, multiply this side by B. Okay. All right. Now, remember, B divided by B is 1, so that crosses out. And what do you have left? You bring down the A. Uh-oh. Let me use that color. Try to be a little consistent. So bring down the A equals, and then C times B. Okay? Now ask yourself, how do I get B by itself? You got to keep asking yourself. In this case, we use division property of equality. Here, we use multiplication property of equality because we multiply both sides by B. Now we ask ourselves, what can I do to get B by itself? Well, I'm multiplying B by C. What's the opposite of multiplying B by C? Divide B by C. So that is, we're going to use the division property of equality. Okay, so I'm going to copy this problem again. A equals C times B, and then I'm going to divide both sides by the variable I need to get rid of, which is C. Whatever you do to one side of the equation, you do to the other. Then look, what can I do? Well, C divided by C is 1, so I cross that out. All right, looks like B is on its way to being by itself. So we get A over C equals, what do we bring down? B. We have successfully solved for B. All right. Well, and some of you may like to have B on the left side. You can write B equals A over C. All right. Whatever floats your boat. But we have successfully solved for B. What did we do the first time? We used multiplication property of equality. We multiplied both sides by B because this is what you do when you're solving for a variable. When you have a fraction, you're solving for a variable in the denominator. You take that denominator and you multiply by both sides of that fraction, cross B out, you get A equals C times B. And you need to get rid of C, so you divide both sides by C. And then you get B equals A over C. Or we rewrote it the other way. Now, we got one more problem to solve. This one, I want you to pay close attention because it's not very complicated, but we're going to be dealing with, in this case, the subtraction property of equality first, and then the division property of equality second. Now, if you need to pause because you're taking notes, feel free to do that because, this is a kind of a long video, but remember, you have control over the video. You can pause it, you can stop it, you can move forward, go back, rewind, whatever you need to do. All right, so here we have 2 times x plus 5 times r, and that equals v. In this case, we are solving for x. So we are solving, it wants us to solve for x. So first thing, let's go ahead and copy this equation and bring it down. 2 times x plus 5 times r equals v. And we're solving for x. Think about it. To get x by itself, I got to get rid of the 2, and I got to get rid of this 5 times r. When you have a problem like this, you don't get rid of the coefficient 2 first. You get rid of this term, 5 times r first. So that's what we're going to do. So what's the opposite of adding 5 times r to 2 times x? You subtract 5 times r. And whatever you do to one side of the equation, you do to the other. So that's minus 5 times r. I want to call your attention. You're used to solving equations where you get an answer for the variable. That's not what we're doing here, okay? We're just solving for the variable, so you got to think a little differently, all right? The only way we can know what b is equal to, we have to know what a and c is, and we don't know that, so we stop here. And we're solving for x in this case. So 5 times r plus negative 5 times r, that crosses out, that's 0. Go back to the left, bring down 2 times x, bring down the equal sign, and then we have v plus, because we're adding down, v plus negative 5 times r, or v minus 5 times r. In this case, I'm going to write it as v minus 5 times r. Remember, a minus b is equal to a plus the opposite of b, v plus negative 5 times r, but we're going to leave it in subtraction form. What are we solving for again? You got to keep referencing that x. X is almost by itself. So what do you think we should do next to get x by itself? It says 2 times x. So what's the opposite of multiplying x by 2? Yeah, divide x by 2. So we divide. Well, I think I'm going to make that explicit because I like to always make my steps explicit. So I'm going to copy that again. 2 times x equals v minus 5 times r. So then, yes, we divide this side of the equation by 2. Whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. And what crosses out? Yeah, you see it. 2 divided by 2 is 1, so that crosses out. Voila, we got it. X is by itself. X equals, and we bring it down, v minus 5 times r divided by 2. We have successfully solved for the variable x. The only way we can know what x is equal to is if we knew what v is and r is, and we substituted those numbers, but we don't know. So we just stop right here, but it's ready, okay? Well, if we knew the values of v and r, we could find x, but we don't know it, so we stop here. All right, so in this problem, we use subtraction property of equality first to solve for x, and then we use division property of equality second. Those are our 2 strategies. All right, so thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to check out my Patreon page on my video description below. On my Patreon page, you can get access to exclusive math lessons, study tips, live Q&A, and more. See you next time.